So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, mentors, mentees, students, teachers, and most importantly, Mount Pleasant alum. We have an all-star lineup today. It's going to be short, but it's going to be sweet. We're going to quickly do some introductions. We have 4 students, 3 from the class of 2020 and 1 from the class of 2019, all of whom have attended RIC or will be attending RIC this upcoming semester. So we have Andy, we have Summer, we have Jackie. Is Jackie still on? Is she hiding?
I believe so.
Oh, there she is. She was hiding for a second. And then we have Miriam. So really quickly, guys, and we'll go Summer first. Then we'll go Andy, Jackie, Miriam in that order. Quickly, as I mentioned before, all the students are working on creating their own stories, creating projects to tell their story. So in a minute or 2 minutes, if you guys could just capture your life story and share with everyone, that would be awesome. And also, real quick, students, while you're listening to these stories, think of some questions you might want to ask them at the end.
I believe that's my cue, right?
That's your cue.
All right. Hi, hello. My name is Summerlin Brittle. I am a second-year undergraduate at Rhode Island College. I was a former student at Mount Pleasant High School, and I am studying for secondary education, double majoring in education and in English because I love English so much. Yeah, shout out to Mr. Pinto. Since I was little, I always had a passion for writing, but I never really articulated it until wanted to teach. But as I grew older, I saw that love and wanted to teach people, and I would teach my brother and my uncle, and we'd just be playing teaching and all that. But as I grew, I saw that I can put them both together. And in high school, I developed more my love for writing in my 9th grade class, English class. Again, shout out to Mr. Pinto. And in that I grew, and then my high school, it offered a program called Teacher Academy. So if you're interested in teaching, you can sign up for that program, or if you're interested in engineering, or there's different programs, I believe, in Mount Pleasant still. But I articulated that passion and I grew in it, and then I was a part of Teacher Academy. And as I continued through the years in that program, I became more in love with becoming a teacher. And then I got to RIC, and I finished a whole year in RIC, and now I'm just continuing in that path of wanting to become a teacher. So that's my story. And thank you for sharing. Thank you for allowing me to share it.
Thank you, Summer. Andy, you're up. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andy Trochez, or you can call me Andy Troch. I am a freshman. In high school, I wouldn't say my story is too, interesting or whatever, but I was born and raised here in Providence, Rhode Island, and I went to William Debate in elementary, Gilbert Stewart in middle school, and Mount Pleasant for high school. I'm studying for business, and because of the fact that my mom owns her own cleaning business, she has always cleaned, and I wanted to, take over because she works way too hard, and I wanted to, see what I can do to, better improve her business, and then maybe have my own business. Yeah, that's my story. It's not too interesting, but
No, it's great. Summer and Andy, if you don't mind, would you be able to translate in Spanish as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
You want me to start first again? Okay, me llamo Summerlin Brito, y lo que estaba diciendo es que desde que yo era chiquita me gustaba mucho escribir, y después mi pasión para enseñar a la gente siguió aumentando con la pasión de escribir. So, cuando yo llegué hasta en el, yo creo que se dice 9 grado, pero cuando yo llegué a estar en el 9º grado, yo estaba en una clase de inglés y crecí más en esa pasión y seguí creciendo en esa pasión y después llegué al colegio y ahora quiero aprender más de ser de ser maestra. Y también estaba diciendo que hay una academia en el High School Mount Pleasant que se llama Academia de Maestra, que me enseñó mucho y ayudó a crecer en esa pasión. Muchas gracias por dejarme compartir.
Gracias, Summer. Lo que estaba diciendo, mi nombre es Andy, por empezar. Solo está diciendo que mi historia no es tan interesante, pero querías dejar de saber que yo nací aquí en Providence, Rhode Island, y yo fui a William Debate, Gilbert Stewart, y me acabo de graduar de Mount Pleasant High School y ahora soy un freshman en el Rhode Island College. Yo estoy estudiando para ser un empresario y me interesa eso porque mi mamá siempre ha trabajado bien duro y ella tiene su compañía de limpieza y quería seguir sus pasos y tal vez un día ser el dueño de su compañía y en el futuro tener mi propia compañía igual. Y eso es todo, esa es mi historia. Gracias.
Thank you, Andy. Jackie, go ahead, and then we'll finish up with Miriam. Jackie, you're on mute.
I finished already my story, so you didn't listen to it. All right. Hello,
she didn't
everyone.
have-
My name is Jack. I came to the United States 4 years ago, which was part of studying in a new school, new people, new country, everything new. I just can say Mount Pleasant is a great place to learn. There are many great teachers. I received many help from them. And even though it's hard, it's not impossible. So if we work hard for it, we can get it. And I'm just about to start in RIC. I'm trying to go for business. So let's see what happens. Y en español, que es donde amo hablar en español, allí sí les puedo hablar horas y horas y horas. Mi nombre es Jacqueline León, vine de Guatemala hace casi 4 años. Estudié en la escuela Mount Pleasant y la verdad que fue de bastante ayuda. Los maestros son muy buenos. Tienen un soporte muy grande a la comunidad de estudiantes. A todos los que van a empezar, lo que les podría decir es aprovechen esa ayuda, aprovechen que tienen maestros disponibles a ayudarles. Y estoy por empezar la universidad en RIC. Ciertamente no es fácil, no me gustan las clases en línea, pero vamos a ver cómo nos va este año, primero Dios. Y eso es todo.
Awesome. Thank you, Jackie. Muchas gracias. Miriam, why don't you finish this up?
Hello, guys. I have my bonnet on right now. I look a total mess, but we're just gonna do this right now. So, as you can see, I'm really outgoing now, but when I was younger, I was really, really shy to myself, and I guess that's when my writing came into play. I started writing when I was 8 years old. I had like this family computer and I was always on it. And my parents thought I was playing games, but I was really writing like full-blown stories, honestly. But yeah, that's where I saw my passion for writing. I was always reading. I have this accomplishment where I beat a 5th grader in a fast reading test. I was 19 seconds, she was 21, and I will always remember it. But I really did love reading when I was younger. I get it from my mom. And I never really thought about my career when I was younger, or even growing up until I got into high school, and I was in Pinto's class, writing, of course, freshman year, and he put me into Teacher Academy. And I was like, I'll do it. But I never really did think about teaching. Well, actually, I lied. I did when I was younger, but I was just playing everything, doctor, dentist, anything. Nothing really caught my attention except teaching, but that was just a little bit until my sophomore year in Teacher Academy. And that's when I realized that my passion for teaching was really there. I enjoyed the class. I decided to go into junior year again and finish my senior year in Teacher Academy doing, what's that called again? Well, I was at Henry Barnard and I was teaching the little kids. Of course, I am going to college for secondary education like Summer is doing. And even though I wasn't in elementary school, like teaching and helping out the teachers, I do enjoy it, but my patience is so low, unfortunately. I'm so sorry. I love kids, I really do, but too much for me. I'm more better as being a high school teacher. And at this point, I'm still going for college for secondary education, but I have been thinking of being a professor. That's just on the table. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, that's basically my whole life. Mount Pleasant has really helped me with my career. Like I said, Pinto put me into that path and I finished that path. And I'm so happy that I took that opportunity. Along with that, I'm really ambitious. I like to, you can ask Pinto. He was also my basketball coach. And I did a lot with my life. I always like to take opportunities of anything that could help me in college or in my future. So I joined student government at Mount Pleasant High School. I did many sports to be noticed. So freshmen in high school, scholarships help you a lot. Like whatever you do, definitely put everything you got into it, because when senior year comes and you got to apply for scholarships, everything that you did, there are scholarships for that. So definitely take advantage of that. And most likely you're going to be successful in college. I'm a little nervous myself, but I'm very excited. So I can't wait for fall of 2020. But yeah, that's my whole story.
Awesome. Thank you, Miriam. Ms. Ramirez?
Thanks, Miriam. I'm going to translate what you just said in Spanish. Soy muy amigable. Yo empecé a escribir y siempre cuando yo era pequeña, yo siempre escribía. Cuando era pequeña también me encantaba leer. Mi primer año de Mount Pleasant High School, Mr. Pinto me ayudó mucho a entrar al programa de maestras. En ese tiempo yo entendí que yo quería ser una profesora. Ahora yo estoy en la universidad para seguir enseñando. He estado pensando en enseñar como profesor de universidad y estoy muy satisfecha con la escuela Mount Pleasant High School y también Mr. Pinto. Yo entré en el gobierno estudiantil y un consejo es que las becas son muy importantes. Vas a tener éxito y siento que tal vez vas a tener mucho éxito en la universidad. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to just pose one question to the four panelists, and we'll go in reverse order this time. So Miriam, Jackie, Andy, and finish with Summer. And then while you're answering that question, if you want to type questions into the chat that one or multiple panelists can try to answer before this time frame ends, that'd be great. So the question I have for the four panelists is kind of twofold. One, what advice would you give to incoming freshmen coming into Mount Pleasant? So if you could change something going back into your high school years, what would you change? Or if there was a piece of advice that you would give the incoming freshmen, what would that advice be? And we'll start with Miriam.
Okay, so I think what I would have did differently my freshman year, or an advice that I could give to the freshmen, would be choose your friends wisely, and don't choose your friends over education, because I know that's what I did my freshman year, and I feel as though my GPA would have been higher when I graduated if I would have took freshman year serious, because I did play a lot. But yeah, definitely like you can have friends. I'm not saying don't have friends, because we're all in high school and we need to socialize. Definitely have friends, but don't put your friends entirely over your education. Definitely do your work, your homework, study as best as you can for the test. High school is not really hard, especially freshman year. As long as you do the work and ask for help when you need it, you're going to be set and your grade's going to be good. But that's basically the advice I would have to give, because for me, those C's and D's took my whole entire GPA. Oh my God. But definitely like take advantage of the education and the help that is given. Mount Pleasant teachers and staff are always willing to help. There is not one person in that school that does not want to help you. Even your friends might even want to help you, honestly. Like everybody there is going to want to help you. Take advantage of that. It's really not hard to ask. Even though if you're shy, I can get it. But some teachers actually see when a student is shy. They're really good with their job, actually. So they can tell a student. But they'll come to you if you really do need the help. So don't worry about that. Just do what you got to do in high school. And it's pretty fast. 4 years, so fast, so fast. It'll be over soon. So that's my advice.
Thank you, Miriam. Ms. Ramirez, go ahead.
Okay, so Mr. Pinto hizo la pregunta, ¿cuál sería un consejo para los estudiantes de primer año que ustedes darían? Y Miriam dijo, yo pienso que un consejo es que elige tus amigos con pensamiento seriamente y pongas tus amigos, no vayas a poner tus amigos sobre tu educación. Los profesores de Mount Pleasant High School quieren ayudarte y pienso que deberías tomar esas oportunidades seriamente. Y que la escuela secundaria va muy rápido, esos cuatro años van a estar terminados muy rápido. Thank you.
Thank you. Jackie, go ahead.
Yes, something that I will do different if I could go back into the time, I'll say get involved. The first year is just a great time to get involved in everything you can. It's hard on the senior year to start getting involved in sports and activities, projects. But on the freshman year, you have the time, you have the opportunity. So don't be shy and get involved in everything you can. All activities, sports, projects, all the most as you can, get involved. Para todos, especialmente para la comunidad hispana, un consejo bueno sería que se mantengan en las actividades de la escuela, en los deportes, en los proyectos, cualquier actividad que la escuela tenga, porque es bien importante. Es bien difícil querer envolverse uno en las actividades y proyectos en el último año. Entonces yo les recomendaría empezar desde ahora. Si este es el primer año de ustedes, es el tiempo perfecto para poder meterse a los deportes, meterse a las actividades, hacer amigos, conocer a los maestros, conocer a toda la comunidad de la escuela, que realmente les va a ayudar un montón al final en el último año.
Very good advice. I would have to say you guys took my breath away because I don't even know what to say now. But I would definitely say that starting off as a freshman, I didn't really care much about school or didn't have so much interest in it because I thought it'd be easy because that's what I was told. And I was told also that my junior and senior year were more important than my freshman and sophomore, which was a lie. My freshman year was very important and I didn't put much mind into it. So it affected my GPA, which is my grade point average. And my advice to you guys is, give it all, once you go in, don't just gradually start getting into it. Just try your best from the beginning and get involved with your teachers, as Jackie said, with the school, with the community. It's really good because if you, create a bond with your teachers or with the staff, you have a better chance of doing better because you actually want to go to school because you have that bond with your teachers and you want to actually do the work. Because I would definitely say as a student, if I entered a class and I just want to sit down and do my work, I would, end up becoming bored of the class or the material that was being given. But if I, create this bond with my teacher, we can have our conversations mid-class or maybe after class. And then like me and Pinto used to have all the But yeah, that's definitely my advice. Give it all in, you know, from the beginning, and at the end you'll see the results, and they'll be good, definitely be good. En español ahora, un consejo que le quiero dar a los freshmen es que entreguen todo, métanle las ganas, como dicen aquí en mi casa. No, no. That was interesting. Sí, denle ganas. I mean, no se pongan haraganes. A mí me dijeron que mi junior y senior year eran los más importantes y que mi primer año de high school no era tan importante. Y eso me afectó mucho en mi GPA. No sé cómo decir eso en español, pero sí, es muy importante porque cuando tú le entregas todo, al final tú vas a tener unos resultados mejores que lo que tuviste en empezar tarde. Y sí, I mean, I don't know if anyone wants to add on to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy, for sharing, and Miriam and Jackie. Like, you guys, like, that's really great advice. And I think I'm gonna piggyback off of all of you and just put it together and add a little bit. But I think the most important thing and the most biggest piece of advice is to appreciate your time in high school. Because like Miriam was saying and Jackie, it goes by way too fast. And then you're gonna miss your library visits. You're gonna miss the cafeteria food, even though it wasn't the best. You're gonna miss your talks with your teacher, like Andy was saying. You're gonna miss just the little moments. And it's just so important to appreciate your time. And also, yes, give it all you have. Give your work wholeheartedly, because it's so important to give yourself wholeheartedly in everything you do, not just in high school, in every little task in life. And like, if you're gonna give yourself half-heartedly, you're gonna see that the outcome is not gonna be as it should. But when you give yourself completely and utterly, you're gonna see it comes out as it should be. So I think that's one of my biggest pieces of advice. Appreciate your time and give it all you have, because you should be, yes, live in the moment, but also know that at the end, your hard work, it amounts to something. So, como estaba diciendo, ahora lo voy a traducir en español. Lo que estaba diciendo es, aprecia tu tiempo en high school, porque el tiempo es corto. Y sí, tú te ves ahora como un freshman, pero los 4 años pasan rápido. Y también aprecia tu tiempo en la librería o con tus amigos y todo eso, porque como estaba diciendo, es muy importante. Y también tú vas a ver que lo vas a extrañar cuando se va. Pero también, como Andy estaba diciendo, dale todo lo que tú puedas, porque es tan importante que tú te des completamente y no hagas la cosa como hacerlo por hacerlo. So, sí, porque cuando tú al final, cuando tú haces todo completamente con todo el corazón, va a salir bien. So, eso es lo que te quiero dejar con, y muchas gracias por dejarme compartir.
Y'all are amazing. Just got to throw that out there. You guys are incredible. Thank you for sharing. I know we only have a couple more minutes before Mr. Howard jumps on, but we would love to open it up to the students now. If you guys have questions you want to ask any of our panelists, that would be fantastic. You can type them in the chat or say them out loud.
Si los estudiantes tienen alguna pregunta para los que se han graduado de Mount Pleasant High School, por favor, escríbenlo en el chat o lo pueden decir a voz alta.
While we wait for questions, I just wanted to say that, I just joined Mount Pleasant this last school year. So I only got to know the 2020 students a little bit. And Summer, I didn't get to meet you, but your legacy remains at Mount Pleasant. I definitely heard a lot about you. And I want to just say how humble this group of students are, because they've done exceptional work. They're great leaders. Whenever we needed them for any type of opportunities, where we needed student voices, we were able to tap and tap into their thoughts, and they shared their opinions. So what you have before you are an example of students who exhibited excellence, and just take opportunities to ask questions, because this is a rare opportunity that you're getting right now. We have two valedictorians. So valedictorians being students who were #1 in their class, and we have class president, senior class president Miriam. So questions about things like that, you should feel free to ask.
I have a question. Who is the best teacher in Mount Pleasant?
Well, I feel like I can't put a name to that question. I feel like there's a lot of good teachers, and when you step into the classroom, you'll see how you'll see who you're compatible with, and you'll see how loving and caring they are towards your education.
Yeah,
I hope that
oops, sorry.
you're good. Don't worry.
I agree with Summer. I feel as though, like I said before, Mount Pleasant teachers and staffs are very helpful, and they're very, like, I don't want to say friendly because they do their job, but they're very, very nice. Like, if you get comfortable with them, sometimes you can have lunch with the teachers, or, like, I don't know, you could, if you don't want to go to the gym class, say it's the end of the year, because I don't want to say skip your class. Don't skip your class. But if it's the end of the year, of course, like, they allow, like, the last 2 weeks of school to go to another teacher to do some work, or, like, if you're done with that class with your finals, you can go to another teacher and hang out. Like, through your freshman year, whatever teachers you have, most likely you're gonna either befriend all of them. Every school, there's always that one teacher, so I get it. It's gonna be like 6 out of 7 teachers that are really cool with you. And so, like, if, say, at the end of the year you want to go to that class, you can go with that class, hang out with that teacher for that 45 to 52 minutes, and actually just grow a bond with that teacher. Like Jackie said, growing a bond with the teacher is really going to help you in high school. Like I said, Pinto was my freshman year teacher. He was just my freshman year teacher. Actually, I lied. Then my sophomore year teacher in Teacher Academy. That's not the point. Point is, and he was my basketball coach. But that's not the point. The point is, my freshman year, I grew a bond with Pinto, and he was, like, one of my best teachers. And on top of that, because we grew a bond my freshman year, my whole high school career, he was always there to help me through anything I needed. Like, he never left my side. He's still on my side as of right now, and I'm not even in the school. But it's like, there's teachers like that. Like, there's a lot of teachers in Mount Pleasant that are always going to have your back through whatever, not just that year, but through your whole high school career, and even after. So it's really, there's not really one best teacher. It's all of them, honestly. Mount Pleasant's a family, honestly.
I know I already spoke, but I totally agree with her. Yo sé que ya hablé, pero lo que ella dijo, de verdad, la verdad, porque todas las maestras son así, son cariñosos, y te ayudan en todo, como Miriam dijo, como Jackie dijo, como Andy dijo.
Any other questions you guys have? Javion, thank you for asking a question. You guys are being shy today. Phil asked, what clubs were you guys involved in? Clubs, sports, activities?
I guess because I haven't said anything, I'll say something this time. I joined the soccer team my freshman year, and we made history my senior year. I think it was 7 years we hadn't made it to any playoffs, and we made it to the semifinals. So yeah, soccer team. If you want to join the soccer team, they're pretty good. We have a pretty good coach as well. You guys should definitely join.
I personally didn't join that many clubs. I was kind of more like a bookworm. You always found me in the library, always in the library reading books. But it wasn't really a club, but it was like an after school program. It was directed towards like college, and it's called the Let's Get Ready, and it helped you. I took it junior year, but it still helped me during my senior year because it shows you what goals you want for college and all that. So even with those, even if you don't want to join a club, like if you're like me, you're a bookworm, but they also offer things like SAT courses or after school program that help you with your academics, like math club and stuff like that. So if you ever want to join like academics types club, they have that too.
Oh, well. Oh,
Go ahead, Jackie. Go ahead, Jackie.
all right. Same for me. I couldn't join many clubs for the fact that I had to work after school, but I will recommend for sure to join clubs much as you can. I did join soccer, the girls soccer team my freshman year, and I was really bad on that, so I quit. Then student government my senior year, and 2 more projects in school for students' voices to be here, which was really good. There were many projects and opportunities, so get involved.
Yeah, same with me. Like I said at the beginning, I did a lot in my whole entire life. Like I said, I did basketball with Pinto, and we also made history. My freshman year, we won only 2 games by the same team. And then my senior year, we actually won the championship at RIC. So we definitely did make history with that. I also did volleyball. I tried softball. I was in band, and it's funny because I play a violin, and violin is not a band instrument at all, but I still managed to do it. I was the senior class president, so along with being in the student body, because me, Jackie, and everybody else, and Andy too, everybody else who was in the student body, we had a lot of opportunities to use our voices. So we were in a lot of student committees, going in different places, XQ, like just talking, trying to make Providence schools a better place and a better system for you freshmen and everybody else. What else did I do? I did a lot. That's all I know. And like I said, like Jackie said, actually taking advantage of the community and all the involvements in, like in the school really does help. It makes your resume better. Scholarships are out there for that. Like it really does help you for your senior year preparing for college and anything else. So definitely take advantage. And I mean, it's fun. I always had fun, although I was a little stressed, but it's fun. Why not?
Awesome. Thank you guys very, very much for sharing your insights. Students, if you guys still have questions, feel free to type them in the chat. At this point in time, we are going to transition to Carlon Howard. Alum, you are more than welcome to stay on the call if you'd like. You are more than welcome to hop off the call if you'd like. If you feel comfortable, feel free to drop your contact information in the chat in case anybody wants to get in touch with you. That's only if you're comfortable. But I just want, on behalf of everyone here, thank you all so much. You are all amazing. And I'm going to pass it to Dr. Papa to introduce Mr. Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Pinto. And thank you all for sharing your stories. That was great. I hope that many of the students will stay in touch with you and hope that you all come to see me at RIC. I'm in the World Languages Education program. So we're really pleased to have Carlon Howard here today. I'm just going to do a really short introduction because we don't have a lot of time. We want to be able to share this time with Carlon. Right now he's I forgot your title, but running the Equity Institute, and he used to run Breakthrough Providence, and I met him a few times in different spaces, also at some of the Edu Leaders of Color meetups, so really trying to help increase the presence of educators of color in our schools. So really excited to have you here with us today. We are recording, and if you could pause every once in a while for interpretation, unless you speak Spanish. I don't believe that you do, but we'll have somebody who can interpret for you. So we like to start with just your personal and professional story, and then as you're talking, if folks have questions, please type them into the chat, and then we'll have a little Q&A at the end. And Carlon, if you're able to stay a few extra minutes, we have really until 12:45. We have our closing community meeting after this, so we can just go a little bit over 12:30 today. Thank you.
Cool. What's up, y'all? So sorry if some of y'all saw me snacking on some fries in the background. I just came from a training session, and I haven't had any food today, so we out here. So thank you so much for having me. My title on paper is Chief Impact Officer at the Equity Institute. The truth is, I just try to do, whatever it takes to make the education system better, particularly around, the folks who are in front of our kids and our students, the people that y'all get to see every day. So my story, I was born and raised in a little town in Georgia. Let's see, at a time when it was really interesting. And I say that because as I grew up, and a lot of people, I talk to people about this a lot, but when I grew up, as I was growing up, the high school that I went to actually had segregated events, right? So if you were Black, there was events specific to you, such as homecoming, prom, etc. If you were white, there were events specific to you. If you were anything else, so in my school, there were 2 students who were Mexican, about 5 students who were Japanese. We had a Japanese industry in my hometown, and probably about 5 or 6 students who were Indian. Those particular students, there really wasn't a place for them, right? I say that too because my school struggled, and probably, I don't know how they are today, but they struggled with this ideal of integration. They struggled with what it meant to bring folks together who were across lines of difference. I mean, I remember when the 2 students who, my friends, Jose and Carlos, first came to my school when I was in 3rd grade, they were actually put into a special education class because there was no language class. So they were actually in the same classroom with students who had severe learning differences. And I say that because, when we think about education and the resources that are available, oftentimes systems aren't set up so that all kids can really be successful. So that really, so with some of my early viewpoints on, or started to shape my early viewpoints on the education system. Fortunately for me, when I was a young kid, I was identified as quote unquote intellectually gifted. So I actually ended up getting into these special classes within my school. When I was probably in elementary school, my district was about 50% white, 50% Black. By the time I graduated high school, it was about 80% Black. And there's a lot of theories. I don't know if y'all are familiar with it, but something called white flight. That was something that impacted my school district, as a lot of white students and families left the school district and moved to more like suburban areas, or I guess areas away from where my school district was located. Interestingly enough, though, because I was in the gifted program, most of my classes were completely segregated from the rest of the school. I was probably one of the few Black males, actually by the time I graduated, I was the only Black male that was part of the gifted program. The gifted program probably was about 80–90% white within a school, like I said, that's about 80% Black. So, there's a lot of educational disparities that existed there. Growing up in the South is a very different world. Everybody say yes, ma'am, no, sir, all that type of stuff. Y'all ain't. We drink sweet tea like it's water. Right? You may even hear in my voice has started to turn into my accent. I don't know if it's Southern anymore or what, but there's definitely certain things I say. I used to say theater, and people are like, what is a theater? It's like, a theater where you go watch movies, but that's a whole nother story. When I went to college, I went to the University of Georgia. My whole dream was to become a lawyer. I grew up at a time when there was some very high incidents of police brutality in the 90s. And there's a guy named Johnny Cochran. And it's so interesting that even today, we're still struggling with these issues. But there's a lawyer named Johnny Cochran who was on the front lines of addressing police brutality from a legal standpoint. And that was like my hero as a kid. And I wanted to grow up and be the next like Johnny Cochran and essentially be involved in cases of police mistreatment, police brutality, injustices across our legal system. And as I got into college, I hit this, what a lot of people call a quarter life crisis. So around my junior, senior year of college, I was like, I have no idea what I want to do in life. I thought the legal route was for me, but the truth is, the more I thought about it and the amount of, like, I don't know, I heard a lot of horror stories about going to law school. So I was just like, I don't know if that's really what I want to do. So when I actually graduated college, I ended up, yeah, go dogs, there we go. And when I graduated college, I ended up going or participating in a program called City Year. And City Year is actually what brought me to Providence. And this was about a decade ago. I moved to Providence. I literally had maybe a couple $100 to my name. I had a little 40 state. I drove 18 hours from Georgia up here to Providence, and I've been here ever since. The first school I worked in as a City Year AmeriCorps member, where we were providing after school, before school support, in school tutoring, mentorship, was Roger Williams Middle School. And while I was working at Roger Williams Middle School, I absolutely loved the experience. Got a chance to meet so many young folks who had a lot of potential, but for whatever reason, many people had counted them out. And, you know, in a lot of ways, I saw myself reflected in those students, because I know from my own experience, the only reason I got in the gifted program that I told you all about is because, you know, my mother advocated for me. If my mother had not advocated for me, you know, it could have been a whole completely different story. And for a lot of the kids that I worked for, there wasn't the resources there for them to connect them with the type of learning experiences I had. And I know that it was a game changer for me, and I know it could have been a game changer for a lot of the young folks I got a chance to work with. And in working with them, I built a lot of relationships. I realized that, you know, working in education was something I was actually really good at, particularly working with people. My whole life has been centered on, you know, I grew up in a very Southern church in Georgia. And a lot of our work was always community service focused. It was always about education and helping people. And it was also about this experience of partnering with people. So, you know, a lot of times, you know, people see, you know, education as like community services, and it's not. You know, it's you know, our humanity is connected. Like, no, like I am just as important as you are. You're important as I am, right? And I say that because at the end of the day, it's like you can't go through life thinking that it's us and only us. We're only human through the eyes of other people. And I started to really realize that, especially when I'm... My bad. I think somebody unmuted. My bad. So, you know, after that experience, I ended up going into the classroom. I became a teacher, got my teaching certification, actually went through RIC for my master's program in education. Ended up teaching mostly in Central Falls, Pawtucket area at a charter school, and I loved it. I loved every bit of it. I was a math teacher, and I enjoyed it. Now, this was the challenge for me, though. As I was teaching, everything was going well. My kids were great. My experience as a teacher was great. I was putting in mad hours. I'm not going to lie to you, but I loved it. The challenge came for me is I changed my curriculum in my school, or for my class rather, and didn't really tell nobody, so which I'm not going to say is a good or bad thing, but I changed the curriculum because the old curriculum was very much so, if you've been through math classes, it's like, do these 1,000 problems, get the answers right, and you got to do it in 10 minutes or less, and that's how we know whether or not you're smart and you're good in math. And that was just, I don't know, that was just a really weird setup, you know? I mean, it just didn't make sense for the way we should learn math, because really what math is the study of patterns. It's not about memorizing formulas and all this other stuff. So I shifted my curriculum, and what I started doing is recording, and I got this idea from a guy named Dan Meyer, who's based out in California, but I started recording different things I was doing in everyday life. So I would watch a basketball game, and at the time, for instance, Klay Thompson broke the record for the most points scored in a single quarter. So I recorded that game, the highlights from that game, and then I'll take it to class. I would play that clip, and my students would have to figure out how many points did Klay Thompson score, because, you know, we wouldn't have the point total on it, and they would have to figure out how you can create a mathematical equation to determine his total point score. And what was interesting about that, and I was teaching middle school students, is that for the kids who love basketball but who weren't necessarily in like math, they ended up teaching the student, the rest of my class, things about basketball. So not all my kids knew about what basketball, you know, like about 2-pointers, 3-point, 1-point. No, a lot of my kids didn't know about that. For the kids who played basketball, though, it gave them a platform to say, hey, let me share this knowledge with you. So we would have in those particular lessons, not only were we learning math, but, you know, I had my students who were basketball fanatics at the front of the classroom who normally wouldn't engage in other types of lessons, teaching students like, this is what a 3-point line is. This is what a free throw line is. This is why you take a free throw. This is what a 2-point line is. And it just created this awesome experience for a lot of our young folks to learn from each other rather than just learning from me. And it was more of facilitating learning experiences as opposed to just me standing up and delivering, you know, this knowledge, which, you know, I'm also a learner myself. That didn't bode well with my administrators. Not to say they didn't necessarily maybe like the lesson, but they wanted me to stick to the curriculum. And I told them, like, you know, at the end of the day, I felt like the curriculum, and I still feel like this, that the curriculum was really geared towards teaching students how to take a test. And I was like, you know, in real life, you're never going to get to a point where you're at a restaurant and you're saying, okay, let me do, you know, figure out mentally how to do 1,000 times 968 divided by this and write a formula for it and do, right? Like you got to, if you're going to have that type of problem, you got to figure out how to do that in the moment, not like, let me go to a whiteboard and write this down or get it, right? Like that to me was kind of the issue with the way we approach math. So, you know, I got into it a little bit with my administrators, and then I ended up just being like, at first I was like, I'm about to leave. And then I actually moved out to Colorado after the school year to do this program where I worked for a politician. And while I was out there, this was 4 years ago, Philando Castile in 2016 was shot by officers also in Minnesota. If you're familiar with the more recent case that's taken place in Minnesota with George Floyd. And I was in a deep, dark place for like a good week or 2 weeks. And it was tough. It was tough. And I say that because I was trying to figure out what did that mean for me having a bunch of students who came from backgrounds like my own, students who are Black, Latinx, et cetera, Southeast Asian, if they can do everything right in life, and then when they get to these like systems of power, everything that they did right doesn't even matter. And that was a turning point for me. And I ended up leaving the classroom and went along this journey of figuring out how do we build a more diverse, more culturally responsive, educated workforce. And I think, Karen, you wanted to translate some of this information. So I'll pause for a second to give you that opportunity. I know I've been talking so much and fast.
Thank you. So, lo que él dijo es que su historia, él nació y creció en un pequeño pueblo en Georgia. A medida de que creció la escuela secundaria, one second. En la escuela secundaria que él fue era muy segregada y había muchos programas que eran segregadas por personas, entonces no eran mixtadas. Por ejemplo, el baile de graduación y otros eventos eran segregados. Las personas de la escuela lucharon para la integración, y un ejemplo que él dio es que los amigos de él fueron enviados a aulas de educación especial mientras ellos no eran estudiantes que necesitaban educación especial. Entonces en ese tiempo era muy difícil. Y él se dio cuenta que a veces los sistemas no están configurados para que los estudiantes tengan éxito. Y cuando era más joven, él lo etiquetaron como ser regalado intelectualmente, y que él era uno de los únicos que estaba en ese programa de estudiantes con regalos intelectuales. Y que también el distrito donde él vivía era afectado por algo que se llama el vuelo blanco, que era cuando las gentes blancas se dejaban la comunidad para ir a un lugar más suburbio. Sorry, I don't know how to say that word. Cuando me gradué, era el único estudiante que estaba en el programa para los niños que estaban intelectuales tenían regalos intelectuales. Y cuando él fue a la Universidad de Georgia. Quería ser abogado. Johnny, el abogado, estaba en la primera línea al abordar la brutalidad policial y él quería seguir sus pasos, el abogado Johnny, pero realmente no sabía qué él quería hacer con su vida. No estaba seguro de si quería ir a la escuela de ley. Participó en el año participó en un programa que se llama City Year y hace aproximadamente una década entonces eso lo llevó aquí a la ciudad de Providence. Tenía alrededor de $100 a su nombre y estaba en las escuelas ayudando con los estudiantes y le encantó la experiencia. Vio muchos estudiantes con potencial mientras estaba en la escuela Roger Williams Middle School y se dio cuenta que quería trabajar en educación, trabajar con las personas. Él creció en una iglesia del sur y allí le enseñaron cómo ayudar a la gente y hacer servicio comunitario. En un momento se dio cuenta que él se quería convertir en un profesor y que le encantaba ser profesor. Pero tuvo un problema que durante la escuela él cambió las lecciones porque le dijeron porque él se dio cuenta que lo que él tenía que enseñar era un poquito aburrido y no tenía conexión a la vida real. Entonces él enseñó una lección con matemáticas a través del baloncesto pero los directores de la escuela le dieron problemas por eso. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So the last thing I'll leave you all with before we open it up for questions is just, my life's work right now, like I said, is focused on teacher preparation, teacher recruitment, teacher retention, teacher support. Particularly, I'm focused on my big program right now is recruiting teacher assistants who are in different schools across the state, really, to get their teaching certification, to get their bachelor's degree, and then supporting them and actually becoming classroom teachers. So that is the big work, and we'd love to open it up to questions for anybody who may have any. Cool. I got somebody who just asked, do I miss the classroom? Yes, I do miss the classroom. Probably would still be a teacher right now. I now have shifted. I teach higher ed, usually 2 to 3 classes per semester, because at the end of the day, what I feel like my calling has been is being able to work directly with folks on their educational journeys. Part of the reason why I got into this work around teacher recruitment and support and retention is to support educators along their educational journey. So in a sense, I still get to do a lot of facilitating discussions and providing spaces for people to process thoughts, ideas, and knowledge. But I do miss working with my folks, particularly I was in middle school. My whole career has been in middle school, and I miss working with my middle school folks. I know somebody shouted out Summer Bridge and Breakthrough Providence earlier. I miss that because that gave me a platform not to just work with middle school students, but high school and college students all in one space as well. Because to me, that's what the future is. And I do miss being a part of that. Thank you for your question, by the way.
Thank you.
Sorry, let me just translate. So la pregunta era que si él extraña la aula y él dice que sí, a veces él extraña la aula, pero ahora está enseñando educación superior y entonces él le encanta hacer eso también porque está enseñando a las otras personas cómo mejorar su educación y cómo ser mejor profesores y está ayudando a personas que ganen su asistente de maestros y también obtener su licenciatura.
Great. So The next question I actually got to pop off for another meeting. This is like my life is like meetings after meetings after meetings. But what do I think my life would look like if I stayed in Georgia? That's a good question. I'm the type of person, at least I've come to believe, is like, I'm just surrendering to life, whatever comes before me, that's the pathway I'm taking. So I don't know. That's, if I would have stayed in Georgia, I probably would have definitely ended up going to law school. I don't know if I would have liked it or not. I probably would have been doing more of what I thought people want me to do rather than what I felt like was right according to my heart and my intuition. But my whole family is down south. So I do miss them. I miss being around them, and I don't get a chance to connect with them as much as I like to, especially with everything going on with COVID. But yeah, the beautiful thing about living in Rhode Island for me is that when I moved here, and I remember I'll be walking around south side, just going to the different spots, restaurants, and people would always ask me, are you Dominican? Are you Liberian? Are you Nigerian? Like, what are you? And I was just like, I don't know. I'm just a black dude from the South. I don't know how to even answer that question. But it was really cool to me, the fact that, I had never thought about like this intersectionality of what it meant to be black and what it can also mean to be Dominican or Liberian or, West African more broadly, or from the Caribbean more broadly. And so I would have probably never had that experience if I stayed in Georgia. And that's given me a whole different perspective, right? Like, one of the things, like, so my wife is immigrated from El Salvador when she was 3. I would have never met her, right? Like, and we have a beautiful child who because he has this dual identity, that we're really thinking about what does it mean for him to speak both English and Spanish, right? Hablo en español un poquito, pero es muy horrible. So, I'm trying to get my skills right because, I do feel like in our country, I don't care what anybody says, is that you have to be bilingual, multilingual to actually be able to be successful. Like, that's just my personal opinion. So, I took Spanish like 2 years in college, and, it's a joke. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was a joke. And now it's like, I actually am like using Spanish in a real world context now. I remember someone came up to me and was like, "Hey, look there," and I'm like, you know what I mean? So, that it's given me a space to also like push myself to build my language skills beyond, the environment that I grew up in as well.
Entonces la pregunta era que ¿cómo crees que sería tu vida si te quedarías en Georgia? Y él dice, esa es una buena pregunta. Soy el tipo de persona que va con la corriente. Probablemente habría ido a la escuela de ley. Toda mi familia está en el sur, pero lo bonito de vivir en Providence es que la gente te pregunta si eres dominicano, liberiano, pero en realidad yo soy solo un hombre negro del sur. Nunca pensé en la interseccionalidad de ser negro, sino de diferentes lugares. Mi esposa es del Salvador y mi hijo podrá hablar inglés y español. Creo que ser bilingüe es esencial para tener éxito en el futuro.
Thank you. So y'all actually have to pop out for another meeting. I'm actually about to be interviewing some teacher assistants who are looking to become educators over the next 2 to 3 years. So I'm going to drop hopefully I'm a very reachable and approachable person. I'm going to drop my email in the chat here, as well as my phone number. And like, for real, if you ever need to text me or call about like, hey, I'm interested in becoming an educator, or I'm interested in the work that you're doing, I want to come, like support the work, participate in events, like legit. I try to be as approachable and open to folks as much as possible. I'm not one of those folks who's like, you got to talk to my assistant's assistant. That's not me. So thank you all so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Carlon. Just one quick question. You mentioned about these events. Are edu leaders of color having some Twitter meetups, or are there events coming up that?
Yeah, so we're playing around with this whole Instagram
Okay.
thing right now. So Twitter was our medium, but then we got a lot of folks who are saying like, yo, Instagram is really in terms of doing our meetup. So we have been doing Instagram meetups where we will bring on us and one guest, and we'll have like a 5-minute interview, and we'll have 3 different people we do like a 5-minute interview with, and then we'll usually have like a musical guest. So we had a former student from the Met High School perform at our last one named Storm Ford, if y'all are familiar. And you know, we've had Chachi, if y'all know who Chachi Carvalho is, John Hope. So you know, we try to make it entertaining and engaging as well.
All right, thank you so much.
Cool. Thank y'all so much. Take care. Have a good one.
You too.
Thank you.
All right. So we had quite a lineup today. Any thoughts, reflections on what we heard?
I really enjoyed all the speakers today, but I really enjoyed the Mount Pleasant alumni. I think they're amazing, and I love the fact that they're going to RIC, and it shows you that, you know, yes, it's going to be hard when you're trying to navigate through high school and you don't want to go to college, but it's not impossible, you know, and I, you know, they even inspire me, even though I graduated from college, they even inspired me more because, you know, back when I was in high school, you know, when I graduated, high school did go by really fast for me too. It does. And this is also for the students, you know, high school is going to go by so quick where it's like, you think like, wow, where does the time go? And then you're going to miss your teachers when you graduate. And, you know, you just got to make sure like you create a bond with all your teachers, because even after I graduated from high school, I still keep in contact with my teachers to this day. And I think that's amazing.